Tutuila, with its 140 square kilometers, is the largest and the main island of American Samoa in the archipelago of Samoan Islands. It is the third largest island in the Samoan Islands chain of the Central Pacific, located roughly 4,000 kilometers northeast of Brisbane, Australia, and over 1,200 kilometers northeast of Fiji. It contains a large natural harbour, Pago Pago Harbor, where Pago Pago, the capital of American Samoa, is situated. Pago Pago International Airport is also located on Tutuila Island. Its land expanse is about 68% of the total land area of American Samoa, and with 56,000 people accounts for 95% of its population. The island has 6 terrestrial and 3 marine ecosystems. The mountainous regions of the island, its beaches, coral reefs, World War II relics, and the sporting activities such as scuba diving, snorkeling and hiking activities make it attractive to tourists. Legend. A popular island legend is that, upon the issuance of a particular call, a shark and a turtle will appear. The underlying story is that, in order to escape the pangs of starvation, a blind old lady and her granddaughter jumped off a cliff in the island of Vitogi into the roiling ocean below. According to this legend, they were reborn as a shark and a turtle. In support of this legend, the villagers utter a particular chant by which the shark and the turtle promptly make an appearance. Another Samoan legend is the flying fox, found in the National Park of American Samoa in Tutuila. The belief is that the flying fox is the protected guardian of the forest and its people. History. The Polynesians first emerged in Samoa in about 10,000 BC. By 600 BC they'd established a settlement on Tutuila. They built up a settlement at Tula. Over the centuries, the Samoans kept in contacts with the neighboring islands of Western Polynesia, Tonga and Fiji. In 1722, Jacob Roggeveen became the first European to visit the Mainland Islands, and in 1768 the islands of Samoa were named the Navigator Islands by Louis Antoine de Bougainville because of the fact that the islanders used canoes offshore to catch tuna. Whalers and Protestant missionaries began to arrive in the early 19th century, particularly in the 1830s, including John Williams of the London Missionary Society. Apia, rather than Pago Pago, developed as a trading station. Louis de Freyset arrived in October 1819 and named Tutuila Rose Island after his wife. In the 1872, the Pago Pago Harbor was recognized by the Americans as the ideal refueling station for the new San Francisco to Sydney steamship service. In 1872, the U.S. Navy negotiated a treaty on Tutuila to use the island but didn't ratify it until 1878. Due to competing interest from Great Britain and Germany, which began to emerge in the 1860s. In 1879 the Americans formed a tripartite government of the islands after the Samoans declared that they opened to all of them. The Berlin Conference of 1889 was held to discuss the political future of the islands, but by 1899, American dissatisfaction of not having complete control led to a division of the Samoan Islands, with Tutuila and Nauru forming American Samoa. The Samoans signed the agreement in 1900 and the flag of the United States was raised on Tutuila on April 17, 1900. It wasn't until 1929 though that it was formally ratified, and the name of American Samoa wasn't given formally until 1911. During World War II, Tutuila was an important island for the U.S. Marines in the Pacific, and they erected many concrete bunkers along the coastline. The island, given that it was such an important base, went relatively unscathed during the war, except for an attack from a Japanese submarine on January 11, 1942. Since 1951, the island of American Samoa has been the responsibility of the Department of the Interior. In 1956, Peter Tally Coleman became the first Samoan-born governor, and during his term protection for the islanders against the alienation of their lands and loss of culture was approved in 1960, and subsequently the flag of American Samoa became official. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy appointed H. Rexley and generated massive funds to develop Tutuila, financing the building of an international airport, port facilities, roads, schools, houses, a hospital, a tuna cannery, a modern hotel, and installing electricity throughout the 1960s. This massive development came at the exact time that the political future of American Samoa was uncertain, given that Western Samoa became independent of New Zealand in 1962 and effectively stamped American authority over Tutuila as a dependency. In July 1997, Western Samoa, by legal agreement, changed the country's name from Western Samoa to Samoa. This was opposed by the Americans, including the American Samoan Islanders, who believed that the name diminished the sense of identity and still used the terms Western Samoa and Western Samoans. Today, American Samoa is an unincorporated and unorganized territory of the U.S. but is under the administration of the Office of Insular Affairs of the U.S. Department of the Interior. Politically, the island is divided into two of American Samoa's primary divisions, the Eastern District and the Western District. Geography. Tutuila lies in the Pacific Ocean, roughly 4,000 kilometers northeast of Brisbane, Australia. The town of Pago is situated 1,238 kilometers northeast of Suva, Fiji. The island lies roughly 530 kilometers north of Niue and roughly 580 kilometers south of Tokelau and roughly 100 kilometers southeast of the Samoan island of Upolu. Tutuila is a fairly small and narrow island, measuring roughly 33 kilometers across and little more than 3 miles from north to south at its widest point. The area of this volcanic island of early Pliocene age is 142.3 square kilometers with a shoreline of 101.3 kilometers. The hill range, which runs from west to east, is rugged and winding, with the northern coastline having steep cliffs and unusual coastline. However, the southern part of the island has flatter terrain. Good beaches are located at many places along the beach. It has a wet tropical climate. The highest point in the Tutuila Island is the Matafao Peak, which is at an elevation of 653 meters, which is highest peak in the island. There is trail opposite to the Manta Lava Peak, which dominates the northern part of the island. This 9.7 kilometers trail is approached by a metal stairway from the southern end, which goes right up to the peak, trekking along the ridge through the rainforests without any additional support system. The scenic beauty of the South Pacific Ocean provides a delightful sight. In the early 19th century, navigators passed through the Tutuila, the westward island among the Samoan group of islands, when it was also known by the names of Bougainville, Manuoamana. Midway between this islet and the rock, the navigators sighted the Pago Pago Harbor, which was marked by a conical hill on its western side and a flat elliptical-topped hill to the eastward. Leone Village, large and prosperous, was sighted to the west of the island. To the southeast of the island is the Aunuu Islet. The coastal road runs for a length of 50 kilometers from Whaigamalo in the northwest to Wanoau in the far northeast. Important towns and villages now developed in the island are Pago, the largest town with government offices functioning from Tutuila, Pago Pago, the harbour town opposite to Pago, the Vaisha village on the northern coast known for its famous beach and scenic setting, which is also a coral-fringed bay, and Leone, a safe anchorage station in the past where the Europeans and Samoans first started their interaction in the early years of the island's history. The southwesternmost settlement is Taputi. The westernmost settlements are Poloa and Amanave. The northernmost settlement is Vaisha and the easternmost settlement is Tutuila. Demographics. The island has a population of 55,876 and a population of 476. Economic activity. The economy of American Samoa is dominated by grants from the U.S. Department of Interior. The tuna canning and fishing industries provide the majority of the GDP, although tourism is a promising developing sector. Economic activity is strongly linked to the U.S., with which American Samoa conducts most of its commerce. Although American Samoa does not treat the U.S. as an external trade partner, funding from the U.S. government adds substantially to American Samoa's economic well-being. Attempts by the government to develop a larger and broader economy are restrained by Samoa's remote location, its limited transportation, and its devastating hurricanes. Hurricanes are relatively infrequent, and although they sometimes cause substantial damage, the total number of deaths from hurricanes in the past 50 years is estimated to be less than 5. Therefore, hurricanes are simply an inconvenience and certainly not the economic development curtailing events portrayed in many writings. More than 90% of the land is communally owned. Tuna fishing and tuna processing plants are the backbone of the private sector, with canned tuna the primary export. Urban development has taken roots in Pago Pago Harbor, where fisheries and its allied industries of canneries have been established. The largest tuna processing plant in the world, known as GarciaB, is located in Tutuila, across the bay from Pago. In the harbor there is a workshop of the Marine Railways which takes care of the maintenance and repair of fishing ships. Ecosystem. The island has 6 terrestrial and 3 marine ecosystem. There are 2 protected areas in the island, namely, the National Park covering an area of 2,000 hectares and the Fagotel Bay National Marine Sanctuary of 66 hectares area. Flora in the island is dominated by lowland and montane rainforests. The lowland rainforest at elevation less than 300 meters is dominated by Diospyros, Disoxylum, Pomatia and Syzygium species. The montane forest in the elevation range of 300 to 700 meters consists of Disoxylum, montane scrub, streams, bushes, mangroves, mangrove lagoons, reefs and submerged coral banks. Fauna. There are 19 species of land snails in the island, out of which 11 are endemic and 4 are in the threatened category. Mount Matafao, which has many species of snails, has been researched from this angle since 1917. Some of the endemic snails reported here are the diastole Matafao and Samoana abbreviator. Achatina thalica, introduced in 1975, is reported to have damaged gardens. 2 different species of flying fox have also been found on the island. Aquafauna. Hard corals recorded are 174 species of 48 genera and subgenera. Avifauna. The bird species recorded are under an endemic category. These are the Aplonus atrifuscus group, the Gymnomyza samoensis group, Halcyon recurvostrus lalage sharpe, Maiagara albiventris pachycephala, Flavifrons, and Ripodura nebuloso. 4 species of native doves and pigeons are also recorded in all the islands of Samoa. The four species are Pacific imperial pigeon, the crimson-crowned fruit dove, many-colored fruit dove and shy ground dove. Butterflies are another category of avifauna in the island. The recorded species are the Hyperlimnus thompsoni and Papilio godefroyi. National Park of American Samoa. The National Park of American Samoa in Tutuila was established in 1988 for preserving its perfect terrestrial and marine environment. It covers an area of 2,000 hectares and is bound on the north coast between Figasa and Afono villages. The Rainmaker Pass is located within this park with its rainforests. The Imalau Valley between the Afono and Vaisha villages in the park has many species of birds and animals. The most significant faunal species consists of the two species of the flying fox, which the local Samoans consider as the protected guardian of the forest and also its people. The two species of flying foxes protected in the park are Pteropus samoensis, meaning fruit bat of the forests, and Pteropus tonganis, locally called Pia faunua, which means fruit bat of settled lands. The roosting place of Pteropus samoensis is the canopy of ridge-top trees, which roost alone or in small groups and are active during daytime with two feeding peaks. The Pteropus tonganis species roost in large groups in thick forest habitat, also sometimes seen close to villages. Both species have a wingspan of 1 meter at adulthood and weigh about 500 grams. The park, which is divided into 3 zones, has a network of hiking trails. The National Park Service maintains good information system about these trails. One such trail goes up the Mount Alava, a high peak within the park rising to a height of 491 meters. A TV tower exists on this mountain and also the ruins of a cable car station of a 1.8 kilometers long cableway which once ran over Pago Pago Harbor to Solo Hill in Tutuila. This cableway, which was the only single-way cable in the world at the time, built in 1965, was damaged when a Navy plane attempted to fly under it and was caught by one of the cables on April 17, 1980, and was permanently put out of commission. The cableway was used to transport the TV technicians to the transmission station. The descent from the peak passes through lovely vistas of the lowlands of the park and the rainforests, which abounds in several bird species. Another ridge trail runs from Figasa Pass over a length of 6.5 kilometers, goes through a very steep slopes behind the rest fail, which is also negotiated through a stairway, and further leads down to the serene Vaisha village on the Coral Bay. Natural disasters. Hurricanes or tropical cyclones have been frequently striking the Samoan island for centuries. To monitor and give advance warning of the cyclones, several observation stations have been established under the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency in American Samoa. After the first recorded hurricane hit the Samoan Islands on February 10, 1966, which was declared a major disaster, hurricane homes, called as FALAFA, have been built in the islands for people to take shelter during cyclonic storms. After the hurricane in 1966, the islands have witnessed many disasters due to heavy rains, hurricanes, and drought. Due to drought in 1974, due to floods, mudslides and landslides in 1979, and due to hurricanes in 1981, 1987, 1990, 1991 and 2004, and a tsunami in 2009. The hurricane of December 4–13, 1991 was the worst disaster faced by an entire group of Samoan islands, which was named Hurricane Val, which caused immense damages to property in the American Samoa and Western Samoa. The Hurricane Val, in comparison to past hurricanes, was very severe, and the storm force had a wind velocity of over 100 knots or 166 km/h. km/h. It was reported as the worst in 100 years in its intensity of wind force and the severity of the damage caused in the island. According to the history of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's American Samoa Observatory, Hurricane Val struck the Tutuila Island from December 7 to 10. The hurricane's eye passed over the southern end of the island with winds as high as 116 miles recorded at the observatory. In the Fagatelle Bay of the Tutuila Island, where the Hurricane Val made a direct pass over Tutuila, the coral reef was completely destroyed. A large strip of the coast was also eroded. In response to this disaster, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration dispatched an assessment team to survey the damage to the reefs. Apart from the cableway, which was severely damaged and went permanently out of commission, the TV tower at Tutuila, one of the 3 TV channels, was completely damaged by Val, resulting in its cannibalization to maintain the 2 remaining channels. The Fagalele Boys School, which was one of the oldest European-style buildings built in the middle of the 19th century on the west coast of the island in Leone Village, was also destroyed by Hurricane Val. Places of historical interest. At Tutuila, at Blunt's Point, there are 2 guns of World War II vintage dated to 1941, which are seen in the form of 2 metal tubes projecting from a wall. The guns are seen at 2 levels. The lower gun is above a green water tank. The second gun is located 200 meters above the first gun above the ridge. Both guns are accessible through a staircase made of concrete. In addition, 2 more guns of identical dimensions are also seen fixed at the harbor mouth at a strategic location to create a crossfire. Concrete bunkers used during World War II are also seen at Pago Pago. Notable buildings in Fiji-It are the Governor's Mansion, Sadie's Restaurant, where Somerset Maugham stayed in 1916 and wrote the short story Rain about former prostitute Sadie Thompson. The Phono Building, which is the state legislative building. The Jean P. Hayden Museum, built in 1917, which was once the Navy headquarters and Catholic cathedral, with painting of a Holy Family scene at the beach. Also seen of the Zion Church at Leon, the old capital of Tutuila, and the monument in front of the church erected in honor of John Williams, the first missionary to visit Tutuila in 1832. The radio towers at Mount Olatel, the Massacre Bay in Asor village, where a monument has been installed in 1883 with stone cross to honor of the 11 French sailors only who were members of the Astrolabe and Boussole ships during the Liparaus expedition, who were killed by the local Samoans in a clash on December 11, 1787. 11 Chinese and 39 Samoans also died in this conflict but are not mentioned in the honor list. At the defunct cable car terminal on the Solo Hill, there is a monument built in honor of the 6 U.S. Navy personnel who died in the plane crash, which occurred as a result of hitting the cableway and crashed into the Rainmaker Hotel. 2 tourists staying in the hotel also died in the crash.